A federal judge has ruled that AT&T will be allowed to acquire Time Warner. Karl Manheim is a professor at Loyola Law School. He joins us now from Portland, Oregon. Professor Manheim, the judge ruled for AT&T. Was this decision a surprise to you?
Not really. There's been a great deal of consolidation in the telecom and media industries over the years, and so this just simply continues that trend. I think it could have gone either way. I think from the consumer's standpoint, it would have been better if the merger were blocked, but this is not really a surprise.
So ultimately, Professor, how is this going to impact the way that folks consume media, the news, and entertainment?
Well, so AT&T is the world's largest telecommunications company, and Time Warner is the fourth largest media company in America. So this is an issue that economists would call vertical integration, where you have, from soup to nuts, you have the content creators, the studios, and the distributors, and the ultimate channels that deliver content into people's homes, owned by the same company. And in other industries where you've seen this kind of vertical integration, what it typically means is higher prices to consumers and less innovation in the industry. So now that we have this completely vertically integrated company, they can use their monopoly power to limit competition, inhibit innovation in the way that consumers receive their video, whether it's over their phone or in their homes on their screens.
Professor, as you know, President Trump had weighed in on this issue. The Justice Department opposed the merger. Can you just run us through what their objections were, and do you expect the government to appeal this?
So this was an action brought under Section 7 of the Clayton Act of 1914, which prohibits mergers and acquisitions that have a tendency to inhibit competition. And I haven't read the judge's opinion, but from what I can gather, Judge Leon, must have disagreed with that argument. But again, given the consolidation that's gone on in both the telecom and the media industries, I think the Justice Department's complaint was probably well taken. Whether they will appeal this to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, it remains to be seen, although it could take quite a while for the case to move up the ladder. And in the meantime, if the merger goes forward, it would be very hard to undo it. Now, you also ask about President Trump's opposition to it, and I think part of that was due to some unfavorable coverage he received during the campaign from CNN. One of the possibilities, and it doesn't sound like it happened, was some kind of structural remedy requiring the merged company to divest itself of some of the properties, such as CNN. But that does not appear to have happened, so we now have a fully integrated telecom media company.
Professor, ultimately, do you think that this now opens the floodgates for mega mergers? We know standing in the wings is 21st Century Fox Entertainment, potential deal with Disney. Do you think this now opens up a wider opportunity for other mega mergers?
Well, as it stands, the tech behemoths, both in ordinary technology and in telecom and in media, really have penetrated large segments of American people's lives. So you have Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. We call the FANG companies, and that acronym is well suited. They essentially have their fangs into our pocketbooks and into our living rooms. We can add another A to that acronym, now AT&T. So given their control over how we consume content and what we get to watch, whether it's they may not like some of the content that we prefer, and it may also have an inhibiting effect on new innovations such as over-the-top video distribution, video channels that Facebook or YouTube might want to deliver. So in some respects, yes, this is a signal to other giants that they can consolidate, merge, and control yet ever larger segments of the American economy and what Americans view.
We are just getting in a statement from the Department of Justice, from the Assistant Attorney General, saying we are disappointed with the court's decision today. We continue to believe that pay TV market will be less competitive, less innovative as a result of the proposed merger between AT&T and Time Warner. We will closely review the court's opinion and consider next steps in light of our commitment to preserving competition for the benefit of the American consumers. Can you say objectively that this was a win for the American consumer in this case?
No, I think this was a loss for the American consumer. So let me just paint one example here. Now that AT&T and its distribution channels, that would be U-verse and of course data over mobile, now that they own, let's say, HBO and CNN, you could see that they might raise prices for other channels to carry that content. They may decide not to let Verizon or some of the cable companies carry that content. And so it really, in the end, I think it reduces Americans' choices. I mean, that's the whole idea behind competition. And the Clayton Act is that consumers benefit when there's robust competition in the marketplace. And as you have monopolization or these large-scale mergers and acquisitions, it lessens consumer choices, it tends to raise prices, and in a sense, stifle innovation. I mean, if you just look at AT&T going back to its early history, the Justice Department had to sue AT&T in 1982 to break up what was then the telecom or the telephone monopoly in the United States. And interestingly, Judge Green in the D.C. court at that time ordered AT&T to divest itself of its 7 local exchange companies known as the Baby Bells. One of those, Southwestern Bell, became the largest and ultimately bought AT&T and is now the world's largest telecommunications company. So I don't see much benefit in this for consumers. You
know, the judge in this case, Judge Richard Leon, he also previously allowed the Comcast-NBC merger to take place, allowed Comcast to acquire NBC. Do you think that played into his decision?
It may have. That was a Comcast-NBC Universal merger. Yes, you want to be consistent, and of course every case you decide becomes precedent for the next case. And so you have, his decision is probably based both on law and on industry practice and the history of these telecom mergers. I hope the Justice Department takes this forward. The Antitrust Division has not been as vigorous as one might have liked over the years. This may be a change for them. But I should also note that the European Commission approved the merger last year. Of course, AT&T and Time Warner don't have quite the same presence in Europe as they do in the United States. But the European Commission is often seen as more aggressive and more protective of consumers when it comes to competitive activities, antitrust. So in this case, it could very well be that the European Commission's decision was something that Judge Leon looked at. I don't know for sure, but it's possible.
Interesting to hear you say that. Professor Karl Manheim, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.